with our special guest. Paul started to cover the Bengals when I was born, and I'm sorry to tell you that again tonight, and our guest tonight, like I told you tonight, we will have Bengals head coach Marvin Lewis. I know you've given him a hot seat plenty of times here tonight, Doc. Is it going to be hot?
Possibly. It's up to Coach. It's his night. I'm going to get you for that.
Sorry, I like to rub that in. Paul and I work together on Beyond the Stripes. But tonight, you're going to interview him. I know it's going to be good. So everybody listen up for a little Q&A session with Cincinnati Bengals head coach entering his 15th season, Coach Marvin Lewis.
This is great. It's just like the Oscars, Marvin, except we get all the winners right. I am very glad to be here with you tonight, and I'm sure that you feel likewise.
Thrilled, Doc, always. Always to get a chance to sit down and talk with Paul Daugherty. You don't know how lucky you are tonight to have him here. See, they're not enthusiastic about you either.
They don't believe you, that's the thing. That's very nice of you to say.
That's true.
Do you mean it?
I do mean it. You always second guess everything I say to you. You always think there's something else in there.
It's a journalist's cynicism at work, I'm sorry. I know that you like this sort of thing because you have awarded 80 scholarships under the Marvin Lewis Community Fund. I think that deserves a round of applause. So 8 just this year, right?
Yeah, 8 this year, so it's exciting. We're blessed to be able to have done what we've been able to do and continue to do it. It's great.
You interview all the finalists for those scholarships.
I do. This year, I think we interviewed 12 students, and I should call them student athletes because we asked them to participate in an extracurricular activity, no matter what it is. But our main thing is community service, and we really want to know the essence of the person and how they're going to exist on campus and what do they want to do later in life.
When you look into a young man or young woman's eye who's competing for that scholarship and you interview them, what do you want to see?
I want to see the 5 years from now. I want to see how they're going to be, how vibrant they're going to be, how they're going to affect their community, how they're going to continue to serve in their community. That's important to us, as I said, community service, so that they will continue to do that through their collegiate career and afterwards. And then we ask them, what separates you from the other candidates that we interview, and why you? And it's great to hear them respond.
Do you ask them for their 40 times and their standing broad jump numbers?
No, we don't really worry much about that, Paul.
How different is that, though, from when you interview a guy in a pre-draft setting? Are you looking for the same sort of qualities in a guy that you might pick in the draft as you do in a kid who's competing for a scholarship?
Well, you know, the difference is when we enter in the draft process, we basically know most everything already. We just want to hear their response. We want to hear them speak. We want to hear them communicate, express themselves, and both as a person and then about football and what they do. So we already know the answers. There's been enough research done. I can sit there and I can read it, but I want to hear it from them and just how they respond to that situation.
But you also ask goofy questions.
I don't. The psychologist does.
The psychologist. Can you share with us one really goofy question you might ask a kid that you're thinking about drafting?
Well, one of my favorites always is to ask the young. Well, we should stay away from that. I'll get in trouble.
No, just give us one. Give us one. We want one goofy question. Do we not? Yeah.
Name the 4 seasons.
What?
Christmas, Easter, Halloween.
That's a season.
Yes.
I can see that. Yeah.
We didn't draft that person.
If you'd asked us, we'd have said Frankie Valli.
But I mean, it's some of it is, it's you would be amazed
I'd love to be a fly on the wall when you ask those questions.
Sometimes it's hard to keep a straight face. And I have to, because they're sitting there looking at me.
Now, when you award a scholarship to a person, you've done it 80 times. Is there a defining characteristic or characteristics about all these people?
I just think that somebody that's going to be successful through their collegiate career and thereafterwards. And I think that's the most important thing. One of the first scholars we ever awarded, his name is Wally Reyes, and I always get it right or wrong. It wasn't Wyoming High School, but anyway, he was a wrestler in high school. He went to Ohio State University. He now is a CPA, and he has a family. And it's just incredible. And so those are the things that, when we sat there with Wally and talking to him, and you just want to see, you can feel that this person's going to be successful in life.
How did you get your start playing sports, and how did your parents treat your sports life?
I was very lucky. I grew up in a small town, as everybody knows, outside of Pittsburgh, and there were a lot of people who cared about us. And so, starting playing youth football when I was 8 years old, Little League baseball about the same time, and we had just a group of adults who went out of their way to form these leagues and get us there. And then my dad worked 30 years in a steel mill, so he was a shift laborer. 1 week he was on daylight shift, which was basically 7 to 3. Then afternoon was 3 to 11, and midnight to 7. So, and my mom was, worked as a nurse, and then she went back to school to become a nurse practitioner. So they juggled myself and my two sisters to make sure somebody was always there. We got fed, and I got to practice. They got to dance, whatever they were doing as well. So my parents just went above and beyond, taught me a lot about things.
Were they simply supportive, or were they like the precursors to helicopter parents?
No, they were very, very supportive. They were not. My dad didn't go to college. My dad went to the Army, and after high school. So those are, they were just glad to be able to help us do these things.
Now, what did they tell you and your two sisters about the role of sports, the importance of sports in your life in terms of the rest of your development?
Sports weren't important. It was what you did in school. That was important. I once got a D. I only got one D in my whole life. And I got an English comp. And the teacher literally grew up 5 houses up the street from where we lived. And she said she gave me a D because I could do better. I only have got one D, and I've got, a undergraduate degree. I have a graduate degree, and I never got another D in my life.
I got a D once in shop.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to use a hammer, Marvin. If I ever need things fixed at my house, I have somebody do it. Are you good with that kind of stuff?
I'm okay. I did take shop though, but no. My dad always told me that I had to be twice as good as anybody for going through life, and that was important to him. But academics were important. What we did in school and getting good grades was most important to my parents. Nothing else really mattered.
Was it a stick and carrot thing? Did you have to get a decent amount, a certain grade, have a certain grade point average to continue to participate?
In order to play sports, I had to, because when I got a D, I had to quit wrestling. There was no extracurricular activity. There was no nothing. I was done. I was, basically grounded until the next grading period.
See, that would have been great. I was a wrestler in high school, and if I'd been eliminated from wrestling, I would have been happy, I think. Wrestling was not the easiest of sports for kids to want to, grow,
No, but the best part about wrestling, though, is you can't blame anybody.
Can't blame anybody else.
Can't blame anybody else.
I know, but
when you get waxed, it's your own fault.
I was the 98-pounder who had to drop 12 pounds. I looked like a starving child. They should have put me on a poster. In fact, they did put me on a poster in my high school. Nobody cares about this, but they put me on a poster that said, "Please feed the starving young man. He needs oranges and bananas." And they put it in the trophy case where I couldn't get it out. They locked it. So anyway, I have no idea why I just told you that story. Were your parents athletes?
My dad was a football player, but my mom played tennis when she was in high school, but that's about all it was. It was just different times.
Your dad, as I recall, wanted you to spend a summer working in the Coke mill. Now, for those uninitiated, this is not a place where they make soft drinks or illicit drugs. It is Coke. It's like a derivative of steel, right?
Yeah, Coke is what is smelted down to make iron ore, which then is to make steel. And I worked in the foundry. I worked for 9 weeks in the steel mill, and believe me, I remember every day of those 9 weeks. And the only day I could stay awake on the way home was payday.
Yeah.
And but I worked 9 weeks in that mill in one summer, and you had to sign a sheet when you came in that you would basically disqualify yourself from being a union employee. They didn't have to worry about me wanting to be a union employee staying on. I was going back to college. Don't worry about that. So
one of the beauties when you're a kid of having a summer job, hopefully, is it shows you this is not what I want to do the rest of my life.
Right.
I mean, I was a waiter at a country club, and that was fun, but I didn't want to wait tables forever. But that's nothing like working a shift in a Coke mill.
No, nothing. My nickname was College Boy from the foreman.
College Boy? They called you College Boy?
College Boy.
Uh-huh. Where did you apply the same messages to your own children about the relative importance of sports in their lives as your parents did with you?
Yes, we did. I mean, I think obviously it's a different situation. I began coaching in 1981 at Idaho State University. My daughter was born in 1985 in Long Beach, and I was coaching at Long Beach State University. My son was born in 90, and I had taken a job. He was born in Albuquerque, but we had already taken a job at University of Pittsburgh. So they grew up in a different environment. They grew up in sports. My daughter grew up in football and sports, and so they grew up differently than I did. But yes, the education was more important than anything else. My daughter, she loved sports, but she wasn't a sports participant. She used to go out there. I remember when she played t-ball, she'd be out there picking dandelions in the outfield. So
should a child? These are questions that every parent has asked, I think, for quite some time. Should a kid who's not yet in high school concentrate in one sport, or should he or she figure out which one he or she likes by playing a whole bunch of sports?
I believe young people should participate in as many sports as they can. If you look at where I grew up at in Western Pennsylvania, you look at all the great players, athletes that come out of that area, none of them specialized in one sport. They all played multiple sports. They played basketball, they wrestled, they played baseball, they played football, whatever it may be. And I think young people should play multiple sports. So somebody that learned how to play soccer as a young person, the hand-eye coordination, the conditioning, everything, the teamwork that it takes to play soccer, field hockey, lacrosse, all these sports are just tremendous. And I think that young people should take advantage of that.
When should winning become more important than playing hard and having fun?
I think at some point it becomes, obviously, when young people go to high school, there's a need to want to win. It's a community thing, it's a school pride thing, and they want to win. And I think that's the time when you're able to compete to win. The coach is, he wants to win. If he doesn't win, then somebody gets underneath the school board and they want to make a change. But I think when it gets to high school, that's the time. I think just playing and participating is so important. And you don't want to alienate, we do the clinic we do each and every year for youth coaches. And one of the things we talk about is don't alienate the big kid, the little kid, whatever it may be. Try to keep all inclusive of all your players as long as you can, because you never know how that young person is going to develop later in life. And so you don't want to alienate them and turn them off from the sport. No matter what sport it is, keep everybody involved as much as you can.
Okay, now, knowing now what we know about head injuries, would you have allowed your son Marcus to play football?
Yes, because I don't think we know less than you think about head injuries. And so we don't want to get in that controversial subject here today, because you don't want to hear me talk about it.
No, sure we do. Go ahead.
No.
Let me get my tape recorder out. We'll have a good time. Go ahead.
But you seem to want to write about it a lot, but you really don't know enough about it. Just saying.
I got news for you, Marvin. I write a lot about things that I don't know a whole lot about.
I didn't want to go there yet. Yet.
Well, all right. But you had no issues with it.
I have no issues with it.
Okay.
Most people that are successful in life haven't had issues.
You are an NFL head coach, and the assumption, I think, would be that the teaching phase of your career is over. You're kind of the CEO, the overseer. Do you still see yourself as much a teacher as a football coach?
I do. I think that's I just got to talk with Coach Speck briefly there backstage after winning his award, and I said, we get to do real football tomorrow, because the teaching part of football is what you live to do. I try to tell people that all the time. Whether I'm coaching NFL player or an 8th grader, I'm still getting to teach football, and that's important. And we're doing no different than teaching an 8th grader, an 8-year-old football. And hopefully our guy's a little bit more advanced, but yet we don't need to assume that. And
I'm not going to comment further on that. The coaching that you do, though, one-on-one with players, is as much, I'm guessing, life coaching as it is football coaching.
No, it's both. I mean, I think it's both. It depends on each person every day. But that's the one thing that I think our players know, that in the morning, if I'm walking through to go to the as they call it now, the cafe, to get breakfast or whatever, and I comment on something that happened that day or the day before in practice, whatever it may be, I know what their responsibilities are, whether it's our left guard or our right cornerback. I know what their responsibilities are, and that's important for me, for them to know that I know what they're supposed to do each and every snap.
In terms of off the field, though, some of these guys, and the public doesn't realize this, and I probably don't for the most part either, they're big guys, they're talented guys, and the lights are on Sundays and they perform. Would people be surprised at how fragile some of them are in terms of ego, confidence, what have you?
Well, they have a lot of people that depend on them, and that's what I think sometimes is taken for granted. A lot of these young men, they come from a background where they're sometimes the adult, where a lot of people depend on them. A lot of people are in their ear, they're pulling at them different ways and so forth, and it's not uncommon these days. Unfortunately, it's getting worse. It's not getting better, it's getting worse.
Why is that?
Well, right now, with the way the professional sports is, what television has done. Now, television obviously has made all this very popular, but what it's also done is it's driven the family to think that every person is going to come to the NFL, and every person does not get to come to the NFL. You know, there's I did the research on it, there's about 2 million or so, that's more than that, high school players. About 1.7% get to play football in college. 0.08% get an opportunity to come to the National Football League. Their career is less than 3 years. We start with 90 players right now. We're going to cut 37 players. So 37 by 32 are going to get put on the street. So that's where the numbers are. But yet somebody in this person's family, and sometimes unfortunately it's not a parent, it's a grandparent, it's an aunt, uncle, or someone else, some other adult figure is driving this young man to think you're going to be in the NFL in 3 years, and that doesn't quite happen that way.
Do you ever cite those statistics to players when you're trying to show them how fortunate they are to be in the positions that they're in in essence, don't screw this up?
We tell them from the time we start. We started with rookie camp, and we told them to look around. Okay? And then tomorrow, when the rookies started, is look around, and the people in the room that have the most seniority, try to be like that guy. That guy's doing something right in order to stay in this room that long. You're in this room. Now do everything in your power to stay in this room. And you'll be fine. Sometimes it still, unfortunately, doesn't quite work that way. Because sometimes the guy who works the hardest, the first one in the building every day, the last one to leave, at times is sometimes the first person we have to ask to leave because it just doesn't work out for him numbers-wise.
So how many, over the years, how many great talents have you coached, college and pro, who should have made it big in the National Football League, but did not for a lack of non-skilled traits, be it discipline, drive, responsibility, character, what have you?
Oh, there's probably been a handful.
Just a handful?
Yeah, I mean, that I can recall like that. Because when they, I mean, in college, yeah, maybe there was more. But again, now, remember, I coached at lower level schools. In fact, I interviewed for a job with Bill Walsh once, and he looked at my resume and he says, you need to get a job at one of those schools where they can pick up your schedule and you can win 10 games. He said, you worked at schools like I was that you're scuffling to win 6 or 7. So I didn't coach that high-grade athlete until I got to the University of Pittsburgh in 1991, where we had those kind of players. And I, through injuries and so forth, other things happen. But we have drafted an occasional guy here who, one particular that comes to mind, who messed his life up.
Who is that?
Oh, I would not say.
I had to ask a question. To wrap this section of it up before I start having some fun, what's the best lesson you can offer young people who are here tonight?
I think we just went through the numbers of things. Is you tonight are special. You're the cream of the crop. And in how many other cities in the United States there's the same thing, people sitting. So the thing that will always separate you, that nobody can take away from you, is number one, how hard you work, and secondly, what you do with your mind. And those things are the intangibles. They are tangible that nobody can take away from you. Your intangibles are what drives you inside. But nobody can take away how hard you work and how smart you can be. And the best players that I've coached, and I've been fortunate to coach a number of Hall of Fame players and guys that will eventually make it to the Hall of Fame, and they are the smartest guys. And that's what, people always want to talk about. What makes up a great professional athlete? It's generally it's talent and ability, but it's the drive and it's the smarts and the work ethic that separate them.
Do you still watch Scandal?
I do.
What is it about Scandal, Marvin, that's so great? I've never seen it. My wife watches, so I don't.
You got a lot of different subplots. It got a little weird this year.
Got a little weird?
Yeah? Who watches Scandal here? It got a little weird, didn't it? It got a little bit weird. My wife, she quit it.
She did?
Yeah.
She got too weird for her?
Yeah. It got too close to the election, so she had to quit it.
But not for you?
No, because
you like that weird stuff.
Well, I like to compete with my wife.
How's your golf game?
I'm an aspiring golfer.
As an aspire, you commit golf like I do. We don't play, we commit.
I aspire to be better every day. Every chance I get to play, I aspire to be better.
So do I. And when I'm not better, it's somebody else's or something else's fault. It's never me.
Natalia told me she's going to give me lessons, right?
Can I come?
Where'd she go? Where are you? There she is.
You told me backstage that your handicap is fairly impressive now. Would you like to?
Yeah, but hers is 10. Her index is 10 less than mine.
10 less? Wow. She's very good.
She is.
What's your favorite vice?
It's got to be golf.
Golf is your favorite vice?
It is.
Yeah,
it's so funny because we go to the hotel on Saturday nights, or when I go to down to dinner if we're on the road, or at night and go to the meetings, and they're all talking about the college football game, and I'm kind of listening to see what happened, because you know what I was watching? I was watching golf.
Yeah. I watch golf too. It's the greatest thing in the off season when it's still cold here to turn golf on a Sunday afternoon like at Pebble Beach.
Yes.
See the sunshine, people in short sleeve shirts.
And I can't commit any more emotion to somebody else's team,
Yeah.
rather, whatever team is watching or is on, I know something to do with it, one of the coaches or something. So I'd rather just watch golf.
Yeah, it's very, very relaxing, I understand. Do you putt into a cup? You sit in the living room and like get your putter out and knock stuff across the rug while you're
No,
watching?
I don't do that.
I do that.
Because that's nap time for me too.
We've touched on this, but I'll ask again. Are you good around the house? I mean, not that you're ever there, because we know every football coach is almost never there during, especially.
I'm exceptional.
You are?
Exceptional.
You're
when
not,
I'm there.
You're good? Mm-hmm. What can you do? What can you fix? Because I got a bunch of stuff. We just moved this new house. And a bunch of stuff needs.
Well, I tell you what, I couldn't fix the gas grill. The propane line on the gas grill had a kink in. I couldn't fix that because I couldn't mess with the coupler off.
Gas.
But so we had to call the handyman. They came and fixed it today. But but normally I fix stuff. I see something wrong, I fix it, or my wife has to call somebody.
Yeah. Can you grow tomatoes?
I can't. I've never grown tomatoes. I can
cook. You can cook.
I can cook.
Yeah. What do you like to make?
My ceviche is my new delicacy.
Really? You don't cook that though?
Shrimp.
It's raw.
Well, but you do kind of cook it. Okay. Prepare it with lime juice.
When are you having me over?
Brussels sprouts.
Brussels.
Getting the finer things in life.
Yeah, I like asparagus myself. I'm an asparagus guy. Asparagus on the grill, little olive oil, right? Salt. When your kids think of Dad the goofball, what are you doing? What's in their mind's eye when they think there goes Dad being goofy again?
I'm asleep.
You're asleep.
I'm supposed to be paying attention and I'm asleep.
Ah, so you nod off in the middle of an important conversation.
I am not off in the middle of dinner.
If I keep asking these bad questions, you may nod off right now. But seriously,
it's an amazing thing.
Yeah,
I can go to sleep anywhere.
That's a talent.
It is a talent.
The older you get, the more you appreciate that talent.
I can go to sleep anywhere.
Okay, Saturday night before a big game, you're just out.
Like that.
Wow. People would pay big money for that talent, you know? What terrifies you? You know what terrifies me? Clowns. Clowns, man, they are really scary. What terrifies you?
Well, I don't like snakes.
No snakes.
But
nobody likes them.
But losing.
Losing terrifies you. Losing like a coach.
No, or being late to the game. That's the worst. You know that dream where you're...
Yes.
Oh my gosh, because I fell asleep. I could be asleep I'd be at Paul Brown Stadium, asleep in my office, and they're like, what are you doing?
Has that ever even remotely come close to happening?
Well, no, I literally will, you know how these days we have those rollers? Well, I'll roll on my floor a lot of times before the game.
Yeah.
And after I've gone out before I go out for pregame. And I'll come back and, and I'll just relax and crack my back and my neck and everything. And I could literally go to sleep there.
Wow. I mean, that's about the last thing I would think of a head coach. Because coaches are generally type A nut jobs, right?
Yeah, but that's my, solitude right there before the game.
Yeah.
Because it's about to get crazy.
So the fans are out there hooting and hollering, getting all cranked up, and Marvin Lewis is using the rollers on his...
I used to roll on my back. I go through
trying to stay awake.
My progression.
At 12:59 on a Sunday.
No, not 12:59. It's talking about 11.
Windows or air conditioning?
Windows.
Me too. I think it's a guy thing. I really do. My wife, if it's 73, it's too hot. If it's 71, it's too cold. You set that thing on 72 and you leave it there or you get kicked out of the house. I would just as soon open all the windows, even in the summertime, and hear the night. And I'm really glad to know, this is a breakthrough for you and me, Marvin. I'm really glad to know that you're a windows guy. That says a lot about you.
I appreciate that.
Who is the living person you'd most want to meet?
It was either, I'm going to have to go with Barack Obama.
Really? Yeah.
I was going back and forth between Colin Powell and Barack Obama, but I will go with Obama.
What is it about the former president that makes him so enticing?
It's funny. When everybody starts in these jobs, you have one look. And then when you're at the end of these jobs, you look a different way.
Kind of gray.
Yes.
Yeah, a little.
And even him, he looked so young when he started. And then I saw him a few weeks ago at the funeral, and he looks different now. And I just think to lead our country is what a task and a privilege. And just to speak with him and talk to him and, maybe play around the golf.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not very good either.
That's what, people, it's funny, when he's been too busy to practice.
Right, well, you gotta practice. What would you ask him if you had one question?
You know what, I don't know that I would have one question. I would just like to hear him talk and his perspective on things. And, I don't know that I have just one question. I think people say, well, you would ask them, what about leadership or whatever? But I think leadership is something that it comes from trust. It comes from time on task. It comes from relationships. And so I think everybody's is different, and so his would be totally different because his is his people, and how he led them.
Last question, I will let you go. When you see, notice I'm saying when and not if. When you see St. Peter at the gates of heaven, what will you say to him to convince him to let you in?
That I've helped everybody I could help. That I think I've uplifted and helped everybody that I could help. Made everybody hopefully around me better. That's what essence of life is that we hope that we can make the people around us better.
Great answer. Very good. I think we've helped a few people here tonight, myself included. And because Lindsay Patterson suggested that I'm an old guy, it's getting late. I need my beauty sleep, and I think Marvin probably does too. So let's give a round of applause to Marvin Lewis. And thank